All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I call to order tonight's meeting of the Temecula Traffic Safety Commission at 6 o'clock on March 28th, 2024. And we will go ahead and begin with a flag salute. If you'll please rise. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may want to mention on the record that Ackerman's.
Yes. All right, so may we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Ackerman?
Here.
Carter is absent. Maddox?
Here?
Richardson is absent. And Sullivan?
Here.
Thank you.
Great, and I'll just note for anyone who might be watching on closed caption that we have Commissioner Ackerman joining us telephonically. So with that, we will move on to public comment. Do we have any public comments tonight?
No public comments tonight.
All right, then on to the consent calendar. We have one item. Number one, approve the action minutes of February 22nd, 2024. And I will go ahead and make the motion.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call. Commissioner Ackerman?
Aye.
Carter is absent. Maddox?
Aye.
Richardson is absent. And Sullivan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. On to business. Number two, receive budget engagement session and provide general recommendation regarding the same. Good evening.
Is his mic on?
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
All right. There's no button down here. Thank you, Commissioners. Ward Comers, Assistant Finance Director. If we could get the presentation on the screen. Thank you very much. I am pinch hitting tonight for Jennifer Hennessy, the Finance Director. She couldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to be taking her part of this presentation. So every year, the Finance Department and the city staff conduct budget engagement sessions at the beginning of the budget process with city's commissions, city council, to help determine budget priorities. And so that's what we're here to do tonight, give you an overview of the current budget and talk about next year. And then any feedback we get from the commissions this evening, we will incorporate and share with the city council. So we'll be presenting a brief overview of the budget process, highlight our current budget, and share the results of our Quality of Life Master Plan Survey, which is the first time we've ever done that. So that was an interesting exercise. There's the agenda. The budget team, as I mentioned, I'm pinch hitting for Jennifer tonight, the Finance Director. I'm Ward Comers, Assistant Finance Director. Paula Majors is responsible for mostly CIP part of the budget. She couldn't be here tonight either, so Catlin Dorsett will be taking care of her part, and she'll also be talking about the budget process. And now I will turn it over to Catlin to talk about the budget process.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Catlin, and I'm going to walk you through our budget process and some highlights from our capital improvement program. So in January of each year, we complete a mid-year update, which means we look at our actuals for both revenues and expenditures to then determine if more or less budget is needed for the remainder of the fiscal year. We also do a revenue forecast for the coming fiscal year and complete a preliminary 5-year projection for the next 5 years, which serves as the foundation for the next year's annual operating budget as well. In February, each of our departments will submit their requests for the coming fiscal year, and City Council will approve those requests made at mid-year. In March, we typically begin our budget engagement sessions with the city commissions, much like we're doing here with you this evening, and also begin our review meetings with each of the departments to review the requests that they've made. In April, we developed the proposed operating and capital budgets, which are then shared in the May City Council Budget Workshop. And that both budgets, CIP and operating, are finalized and adopted in June typically of each year. This year, however, it will be done in May. There are various factors that guide the city's budgeting, including the Quality of Life Master Plan, feedback from the commissions, prior year programs and projects that are not yet completed and need to be carried over to the next year, program and services master plans, such as the Senior Services Master Plan, and City Council policies, all of which help shape the recommendations for the operating and CIP budgets. And I will now go through some of the current year CIP stats and highlight a few of the projects. The Capital Improvement Program is a comprehensive 5-year plan that addresses the capital needs of the city. Capital projects are those that cost over $30,000 and have long-term lifespans and are generally non-reoccurring. The fiscal years 2024 to 28 CIP is the largest in the city's history, with $819 million in total costs. The city has identified funding sources totaling $606 million, or 74% of the total CIP. The remaining $213 million is unspecified at this time. However, before construction begins on any of these projects, a funding source will be identified. One project we'd like to highlight tonight is the French Valley Parkway Phase 2. This $138 million project is currently under construction and has an estimated completion date of May 2025. This project will alleviate the bottleneck on northbound I-15 between Winchester Road and the I-215 junction. Second, the Las Haciendas Affordable Housing Project, located off Jefferson Avenue, includes the construction of a 77-unit affordable housing community. The project includes $10 million in city funding. All units in buildings 1 and 2 are currently leased, and building occupancy has already begun in building number 1. Construction on the I-15 congestion relief project is scheduled to begin soon. This $9.2 million project to add an auxiliary lane between Temecula Parkway and Rancho California Road is expected to finish this October. On February 29th, Temecula City Council approved the authorization to solicit construction bids for the pickleball courts project. This $3.3 million project will create 17 dedicated pickleball courts at the Ronald Reagan Sports Park and is estimated to take approximately 4 months to complete. The Ronald Reagan Sports Park hockey rink is a $2 million project that recently went to bid, and those bids are currently being evaluated by the Public Works Department. This project will be a complete renovation of the hockey rink with new flooring material, a roof structure, bleachers, and various ADA compliance improvements. And with that, I will turn it back over to our Assistant Director of Finance, Ward Commerce. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the city follows what's called fund accounting principles. And so what that means is that revenues and expenditures are tracked in separate funds. And then any excess is retained in what's called fund balance. And while we have 70 individual funds, tonight we're just going to focus on the main ones, which are the general fund, starting with that one. This first slide is regarding general fund revenue, and there's a comparison between the prior fiscal year and this fiscal year. For this fiscal year, we're projecting total revenue to be about $108 million. We are showing a slight decrease from the prior year, and that is mostly attributable to some changes in COVID funding. Most of our revenue, as you can see from the chart, comes from sales tax, so like $47 million for the 23-24 fiscal year. That's the majority of the revenue, 44%. Property tax comes in at 10%. So that's the major measure. S is over there on the right, 5%. So a lot of the sales tax that we get, which is 44%, the majority of that comes from auto sales, which has been flat or just decreasing in the last year or so. And just in general, most sectors of the economy right now are flat or decreasing. So we're projecting or are experiencing some declines in revenue. There's also a decline in license and permits, so development activity has slowed down or is kind of on pause right now. But overall, we're keeping a close eye on economic indicators, and we're adjusting revenue projections accordingly. Next is general fund expenditures. The general fund supports the majority of operations in the city, with a total budget of $96.4 million for 23-24. A little over half is dedicated to public safety, with a budget of $41.7 million, and the city's portion of the fire budget is $11.7 million. There's an additional $11 million that's provided through the county's structural fire tax. So for a total fire budget of nearly $23 million. Administration on this chart, which is 15%, includes city council, city manager's office, city attorney, city clerk, finance, and HR departmental budgets. Public works makes up 21% of the budget, while community development totals 9%. The non-departmental category shows a decrease due to anticipated savings we are achieving through the pension liability pay down, which we'll be talking about in just a minute. So this chart shows general fund revenue and expenditures. So the line on the chart is the revenue, the bars are the expenditures. So on this type of chart, you want to see the line above the bars. So revenue is in excess of expenditures, which the city does a very good job of managing our revenue expenditures. Actuals has been above, and then we're forecasting from 23-24 fiscal year on through 27-28 continued surplus. The next chart shows the trend in fund balance, which is a cumulative difference between revenues and expenditures. So the bars on this chart are the fund balance for each fiscal year. The green line is the funded reserve, and then the yellow diamond is the desired reserve. Per budget policy, the city keeps 25% of its operating expenditures set aside for emergency purposes. One thing to point out here is that you see that we're drawing down fund balance. We started in 22-23 drawing down fund balance, and we're continuing to draw down fund balance through 27-28, and that is to pay down city debt. But all the while, we're maintaining reserves in excess of the city council policy. Now moving on to Measure S. This is the city's second largest unrestricted fund. Measure S is the 1 cent sales tax that was approved by the voters in 2016, and it's tracked in its own separate fund for transparency purposes. For 23-24, Measure S revenue is projected to be just under $40 million and is increasing slightly over the prior year, mostly due to some interest savings. After Measure S was approved, the council adopted Measure S appropriation guidelines, which prioritize the use of the tax dollars generated through this measure. The first priority is to ensure public safety staffing levels keep pace with population growth. $5.4 million dedicated to public safety reflects the cost of 11 police officers, staffing for Fire Station 95, and the future replacement of the recently acquired fire ladder truck. These funds are transferred to the general fund to support the police and fire budgets. The second priority for Measure S is to fund asset management program, which is essentially several reserve funds, or you could think of them as savings accounts, that are set up to provide necessary funding to replace the city's assets when they reach the end of their useful life. We have replacement funds set up for technology, fleet, facilities, copiers, and street maintenance. Capital project funding is a third priority, although when you look at the pie chart, you see it's 65%. And it has the largest allocation of funding. However, this is due primarily to carryovers from prior budget years, as capital projects often take several years to complete. Funding necessary to maintain our community services operations is the final priority, and 20% of Measure S is transferred to the TCSD budget for this purpose. Now to talk about the TCSD fund. The Community Services District is technically a separate legal entity than the city and has a separate budget, including TCSD operations, the library, and various service levels. The TCSD operations revenue projection for 23-24 totals $17.9 million, of which 74% is supported by Measure S transfer. Measure C is the $74.44 parcel tax that was approved by voters in 1997, which is just under $2 million for TCSD. And program revenues of $2.8 million include fees received for aquatics, theater tickets, day camp, contract classes, sports, and facility rentals. Okay, I'll let the fancy animation go there. All right, all the bars are there. TCSD operations budget for 23-24 totals nearly $18.8 million and is broken into several different divisions as shown here. The operations division is the largest at $5.4 million because it includes the internal service fund allocation for all the divisions of TCSD. Now on to one of my favorite topics, which is the debt liability and pay down status. As you may remember, back in December 22, the City Council adopted the city's debt and liability pay down strategy, where the city would pay down all of its facility debt and unfunded liabilities over a 7-year period. The 2 facility loans for the Civic Center and the Margarita Recreation Center have been paid in full. So we've paid $12.6 million for the Civic Center loan, $5.03 million for the MRC loan. So those buildings are free and clear. We've also just this fiscal year have paid down our OPEB liability, and OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits, which is basically health care for retirees. So originally that debt was around $5 million, and we've paid that down, so that liability is paid off. And then the big liability, which we're tackling next, is the pension liability. So this reflects the future benefit costs related to employees' retirement. When this paydown strategy was adopted in 2022, the unfunded liability was about $52 million, but due to CalPERS investment returns or lack thereof, payroll costs and other factors, that liability has increased to $61 million, but it is coming down with the latest valuation reports. So far to date, we've paid down almost $22 million, and we will be paying off the rest of that in the next 7 years. By paying off the 2 facility loans, we have saved about $3 million in interest costs. And then once the CalPERS liability is paid down, that will save about $30 million in interest costs. And so here's the status of the pension liability paydown schedule. So this is how much we paid in each fiscal year. So over the next 5 fiscal years, we're going to be paying off about $8 million or so a year to be debt-free by, or 100% funded by 28-29. So as I mentioned, by paying this down early within 7 years, that's going to save the city about $30 million in interest costs. Okay, shifting gears now to the QLMP survey that we conducted this year. Just a quick overview of what the QLMP is. The QLMP is the Quality of Life Master Plan. It's the city's 20-year strategic plan that defines the city's vision and 7 core values. It prioritizes goals for each core value for the year 2040. And then it guides budget decisions for operating capital improvements. All of the departments within the city have performance measures that are linked to the QLMP core values, and those are included in our budget. And in addition, every capital improvement project is linked to a QLMP core value. Here are the 7 core values in the QLMP: safe and prepared community, transportation, mobility, and connectivity, healthy and livable city, economic prosperity, sustainable and resilient city, accountable and responsible city government, and equity. So this year, as I mentioned, we wanted to conduct a QLMP survey with the city's commissions to help us prioritize goals. So we surveyed the Community Services Commission, Traffic Safety, Planning, and the Ready Commission. Each core value has several goals for 2040, which we'll look at tonight. And then also as part of the QLMP, there is the Citizens 20-year priority timeline, which has 51 capital improvement projects listed. Most of those are already funded or planned for. However, 16 projects remain to be planned. And so as part of the survey, we asked the commissions for feedback on what the top 5 of those unplanned projects would be. And then just to share that the results of the survey are going to be discussed with the City Council. Okay, so on to the results of the survey. For core value 1, which is safe and prepared community, on the left-hand side are the goals for 2040. And on the right-hand side are the results of the survey, the average of all commissioners. So according to the survey average, top 2 priorities are ensuring that public safety remains the highest priority and continuing to be one of the safest cities in California and the nation. The Traffic Commission's survey, very similar to the survey average. Your commission ranked continuing to be one of the safest cities a little bit higher. So broke the 2-way tie there for the top spot. Core value number 2, transportation, mobility, and connectivity. The goals for 2040 are on the left-hand side. Survey results are on the right. The top priority is maintain and improve roadway network. The second priority is to promote job growth in Temecula and nearby areas. The results of the Traffic Commission, again, very similar to the survey average. Moving on to core value number 3, healthy and livable city. The goals are on the left-hand side. Survey results are on the right. It's about this time in the presentation that I start sounding like Richard Dawson from Family Feud. So the survey says the top goal is supporting a healthy and active lifestyle. Second is being a sustainable community. Your commission's results, again, very close, very similar. Core value number 4, economic prosperity for 2040. Goals are on the left. Survey results are on the right. Top goal is to encourage broadening of higher education. The results from your commission, again, very similar. Your commission would have ranked the third goal, the highest, however, so there's a little bit of a difference there, which is fostering an integrated career technical education system. Core value number 5, goals are on the left, survey results are on the right. Top goal is to ensure safe and sufficient water supplies. Second goal is be the most sustainable city. The results from the Traffic Commission, again, very similar. Your commission would have ranked work to maintain the city's high level air quality as the top goal. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but it's still very close. Core value number 6, accountable and responsive city government. Goals are on the left. Survey results are on the right. The top goal is provide consistently professional services. The second goal is to maintain flexible organization. The results from your commission are here, and the X's. Your commission would have ranked the third one, which is ensure transparency in all aspects of city government. That would have been the highest. Core value number 7, goals are on the left, survey results are on the right. Top goals, support fair and equitable treatment. The next highest goal is foster a healthy environment and prosperous opportunities for all residents. Results from your commission, again, very close. So the citizens' 20-year priority timeline. These are the 16 projects that I mentioned earlier. On the left-hand side, the results from the survey are on the right. So the top 2 projects are the Murrieta Creek Bridge and acquisition of Fire Station 12. And then there's a 4-way tie for second place, which is Western Bypass Corridor, Southside Senior Center, and Climate Action Plan, and completing the Temecula Loop Trail. The results from your commission are here, and this may not be surprising for the Traffic Commission, is that you've ranked Murrieta Creek Bridge a little bit higher. That would be one of your top ones. Fire Station 12 is also a top one. The number 1 goal for this commission would be the Integrated Watershed Management Plan. And then there's a 3-way tie for third. I mentioned Western Bypass Corridor, Southside Senior Center, and then building a fire training facility center with a tower. And let's see, we went over that. So in closing, we want to thank you all for your participation in the QLMP survey. As I mentioned, we'll be providing results in the prioritized list of projects to the full council as part of the proposed budget. And at this point, we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll start with Commissioner Sullivan if you have any questions.
I don't have any questions. Excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Ackerbid, anything?
Yeah, I have a couple. First of all, you guys always do a great job with these presentations. It's no different. I appreciate it. I have a question regarding revenue. I know a lot of cities our size are dealing with a variance in what was projected in revenue, and it's down a little bit based on sales tax numbers. I saw the comparison, general fund down $7 million between last budget year and this budget year. I'm curious if you can talk at all about where we fell as far as our projections for where we're at in this fiscal year versus where we actually landed.
Yeah, we have been anticipating a flattening or a decline in sales tax revenue. We receive reports from our sales tax consultant on a quarterly basis. So it's something that we track very closely. I think as you mentioned, sales tax is kind of flattened or is, we're going to get to the right slide here. How fast can my finger go here? I got to push all the buttons. There we go, almost there. There. So what this slide shows is that sales tax revenue came in, actuals came in for fiscal year 22-23 at about 47.4 million. This year, our projection is 47.3 million, so it's about a 0.1% decline. That's in line with our expectations and our projections. So that was anticipated. We're also anticipating a further decline next year. We haven't come out with our official projection yet, but we're expecting it to be a little bit lower than this fiscal year. So, but then we're anticipating 2 to 5 years out that sales tax is going to pick up again. We're hopeful that interest rates are going to start coming down. As many people know, the Federal Reserve is intentionally keeping interest rates high to slow down the economy, so it's having the effect that they want. And as the economy slows down, they'll start relaxing interest rates. So we should see sales tax pick up in the outer years. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I appreciate that. The only other one I had is regarding Measure S. I know when it was passed, I remember seeing the signs all over about, improve public safety, all that. And I just want to kind of point out that I know you guys are doing a great job managing the budget, but only 8% of Measure S is going towards public safety. And you even said when you got there that it was a top priority or top purpose of what it was. So it does seem kind of low to me for our use of those funds. Again, I know you guys do an excellent job with the budget and everything, but something to be aware of there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, that insight. As I mentioned during the presentation, the percentages are a little skewed right now because we've been carrying forward capital improvement project money that has been allocated from Measure S out to the capital improvements. So when you look at the budget, the percentage for capital improvements is very high.
Right.
As I said, it's been carried over the years, but if you were to back that out, public safety would be the highest priority.
Got it. Perfect. Well, I appreciate the clarity. Thank you again.
Aloha.
All right, yes, thank you for being here and for spending time with all the commissions lately. I know you've been spending a lot of evenings with us. And I especially appreciate the survey format this year. I think with when you have a topic as intricate as municipal finance, it really helps when the questions are framed in terms of the QLMP and we have a little extra time at home to sort of work through all the categories. So I appreciate that, and I hope that format might return next year. One area that I'd like to provide a little bit more detailed input on would be our budget for fire protection. And so in terms of the survey results, I was very happy to see that there is consensus around the importance of Fire Station 12. And I appreciate that that's something that the city really has been planning for and saving for. That said, in addition to the acquisition of the building, I think it's equally, if not more important, that we hold our commitment to the 4-person staffing per engine. And I bring that up because, I imagine as part of the 5-year forecast, the city has probably looked at the recent MOU between CAL FIRE and the state of California, which will phase in a reduction in the maximum weekly hours, which in my opinion is a good thing. It'll bring those hours more in line with the industry standard and reduce the fatigue of our firefighters. But that said, then with the state budget being what it is, there may be some delays in the implementation of that, but no matter how the timing of that shakes out, my request, maybe to Commissioner Ackerman's point, or my hope would be that we can utilize Measure S to meet the increased staffing requirements so that we can still cover those same hours and keep that staffing level where it's at. And you did touch on it in the presentation when you noted that really the intention behind Measure S was to ensure that public safety staffing keeps pace with the population level. I guess the small distinction I'm making here is that I just want to make sure that if our population declines or levels off, that we're still supporting staffing levels that support the health and wellness of our first responders. So other than that, no notes. And if everyone is good with moving on, and thank you so much for your report.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, so we're on to business item number 3, striping on Pechanga Parkway from Temecula Parkway to Wolf Valley Road and Butterfield Stage Road from Temecula Parkway to South City Limits. And we'll go ahead and take the staff report now, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This presentation is regarding proposed striping changes on Pechanga Parkway and Butterfield Stage Road. So a pavement rehabilitation project is scheduled to occur this summer or fall with our Capital Improvements Department on Pechanga Parkway and Butterfield Stage Road. Work on Pechanga Parkway is to occur from Temecula Parkway all the way down to Wolf Valley Road, just short of the Pechanga Casino. And work on Butterfield Stage will occur from Temecula Parkway down to the South City Limits. And whenever a pavement rehab project like this is proposed, Traffic Division always works to review and verify we can take advantage of these projects and see if we can upgrade or just improve our existing striping layouts to better vehicular movements and our bike facilities. So as part of our continued effort to incorporate bike lanes in the city, staff saw this pavement rehab project as an opportunity to expand and upgrade our bike network. Pechanga Parkway currently has 3 northbound and southbound lanes with left turn lanes and raised center medians. However, the portion highlighted in blue on the aerial map there from Temecula Parkway to Clubhouse Drive currently does not have any bike lanes. And the green highlighted area from Clubhouse down to Wolf Valley only has the minimum 5-foot wide bike lanes, so it's not something that we typically like. So based on our review, staff developed a striping layout that would maintain the 3 northbound and southbound lanes, the vehicular lanes, so we can maintain the lanes needed for the volume on that roadway. And while doing that, upgrading our bike network. So this slide references the section north of Clubhouse Drive that I mentioned currently does not have any bike lanes. We did encounter some restrictions when we're doing this striping layout with existing medians and also the narrowing of Pechanga Parkway at this section due to the bridge deck. But we were able to shift and reduce some of the lane widths so that we could fit in a couple of bike lanes in the northbound and southbound direction. As you see on the cross section, we reduced the vehicular lanes to 11 feet. We were able to get a 5-foot wide bike lane on the west side for the southbound direction and a 6-foot wide bike lane in the northbound direction. Also, I know it's a little small, but if you can see the green hash painted area, that's something new that we're trying to implement on our bike lane transitions as they cross over right turn pockets. We're just trying to increase visibility on these areas that are a little bit higher conflict for our bicycle riders. So that's something that we're going to be trying to implement moving forward. So this slide references the section of Pechanga south of Clubhouse Drive that had the existing 5-foot wide bike lanes. So this section provided a little bit more flexibility just due to the wider nature of Pechanga Parkway, and allowed us to expand the bike lanes to a 6-foot wide bike lane and also include a 4-foot wide bike lane buffer on both sides. While doing so, we were still able to maintain 12-foot wide vehicular lanes, and we could technically reduce a little bit more, but since Pechanga does vary in width as you go down further south, we found that keeping that uniform bike lane width and buffer was a little bit more important. So now on Butterfield Stage Road, this currently has 2 northbound lanes and southbound lanes on this section south of Temecula Parkway. The portion north of Wolf Store Road currently has 5-foot wide bike lanes, while the portion shown in the aerials south of Wolf Store Road currently has 6-foot wide bike lanes with a 3-foot wide buffer. And similar to Pechanga Parkway, there were a few restrictions we encountered, mainly with the existing raised medians. On the section north of Wolf Store Road up to Pechanga Parkway, we were a little bit limited on what we could do. However, we were able to add or incorporate a 2-foot wide buffer. We weren't able to widen the bike lane any further since the lane widths were already pretty tight there. But hopefully adding a little bit of buffer area will aid in some security for those bike riders. This is a section south of Wolf Store Road. This, similar to Pechanga, did widen out a little bit and gave us a little bit more flexibility. This had the 6-foot wide bike lanes, and we were able to increase those to 7 feet wide. This had a 3-foot wide buffer, and we increased those to 4 feet wide as well. Another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention on this slide, and something that we're going to be trying to implement moving forward, are our new crosswalks. Trying to switch away from the standard 2-stripe crosswalks and go with the continental crosswalks, which are they're 2-foot wide bars, just to increase visibility of these crosswalks, especially in this location where it is a high pedestrian area due to the Vail Ranch Middle School. So that's something that we will be doing on not only Butterfield, but Pechanga Parkway and any projects moving forward where we can increase visibility on these pedestrian crosswalks. So staff's recommendation tonight to the commission is to receive and file this report for staff to implement the proposed striping on Pechanga Parkway and Butterfield Stage Road as part of the pavement rehabilitation project. And I can open up to any questions you might have.
Excellent, thank you. So we'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Ackerman if you have any questions or comments.
I think it's a good idea to take the opportunity to add those bike lanes. My only question is, in the high traffic, most of these are high traffic areas at certain times of the day during the week. Has there been consideration about the timing of when we're going to do this to not impact that?
That's going to be strictly based on the CIP project. I know they're going to be going out to bid, I believe in May. Once we get those bids back, we're hoping that it happens in the summer, especially on Butterfield where there is a lot more pedestrian activity. So I think that's the goal, but hopefully those bids come in quick.
I'd like to add on the Pechanga Parkway one, only because it's kind of coincidence that Pat Thomas and I went to RCWD this afternoon, and we were kind of talking to them about future projects. Well, if you've noticed, Pechanga Parkway has been heavily impacted with traffic this past week, and that's because RCWD is doing some potholing to look for certain utilities because they have, in cooperation with Pechanga, a large recycle water project that is going to be happening this summer. So because that project is happening, and we found out, kind of schedule, as Eric mentioned, ours is going to be going out to bid, so we started to discuss maybe there's an opportunity for us to team with our CWD to do all of the work at one time so that it's one impact to traffic. And so our traffic control for the rehab portion of Pechanga would extend to allow them to utilize the same work zone and therefore do all that work at the same time. So one-time impact to all of that traffic, rather than us going in and then all of a sudden RCWD goes in and now the public is asking, well, I thought we just did this, we just shut this down. So that was something that happened today. So we're going to work at timing those two projects together this summer.
Perfect, excellent solution.
Yeah, excellent planning.
Yeah, I drive Pachanga Parkway every day, and I never noticed how narrow the bike lanes are there. But driving tonight to come to the meeting, since it was on this, I checked it out, and I wholly support the widening effort for safety.
Quick question. Did I hear correctly that these, the high visibility bike legends are, that's just the new standard going forward? These aren't necessarily part of the HSIP bike legends?
Yeah, that's correct. The green bike lane legends is something that we've been implementing for a while now.
Yeah.
But for these hashed areas, it's something new that we've been seeing in the industry. And I've seen it personally in Carlsbad, which is a pretty high bicycle community.
Yeah.
And they look great. So we would like to start implementing them on these right turn pocket transitions because it is a higher conflict, and see how that goes. But that's the plan moving forward, to put that in our standard, our city standard.
Excellent. Well, I'm certainly excited for this. You know, to be honest, when I'm towing my kids behind me on the bike, I avoid the bridge on Pachanga Parkway because of how narrow it is, and you know, drivers aren't necessarily looking for you as they're trying to find their lane as they come up on Temecula Parkway. So, yeah, this gap closure, I think, is a pretty big deal, and it's going to let us get to some places that we couldn't before. So, I guess we're not voting on this, but I will just enthusiastically receive and file. Thank you. All right, on to division reports. Receive and file the trip report, and then we'll have the CHP report, please.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Gail Ontiveros with the Temecula CHP office. I'll be providing the summary report for February 2024. So services we provided in February, we had 16 child safety seats installed at our area office. Those are done by trained personnel. We had 4 traffic safety presentations that include every 15 minutes, which is geared towards teen driving safety. We had bicycle safety with an emphasis on helmet wearing, and keeping everyone safe is a program that is a general traffic safety. Our enforcement activity, we had an increase of 16% with 927 citations issued, a 32% increase in our verbal warnings at 273. Our total enforcement contacts was an increase in 22% at 1,514. A highlight from February was there's a monthly meeting at the Coffee and Cars Group held that's here in city of Temecula. We're able to stop a vehicle that was reported at 120 miles per hour on the freeway. The vehicle was again, it was stopped. We made an arrest. That vehicle was impounded, and the other driver that was involved in this incident, the vehicle was also impounded days later. We had a Desert SEU, which is Special Enforcement Unit. It's Southern Riverside County. We had 83 citations, 8 warnings, and 2 vehicle impounds. Our driving under the influence has increased by 70% at 41 arrests. Our DUI crashes, we had a 50% reduction at 9 compared to last year. Our traffic crashes, non-injury crashes, there was a slight increase of 15% at 91. Increase of 22% for injury crashes. Our fatal traffic crashes, we had a 50% reduction compared to last year. We've had 1, and our fatal traffic crashes to date are 2, and in 2023 we're at 30. Total crashes, slight increase of 16% at 153. We had 1 major traffic crash investigation up at the unincorporated area, SR 371 north of Western Valley. That was a solo vehicle fatal traffic collision. And that's all we got. Any questions?
Any questions, Commissioner Ackerman?
Nothing for me. Thank you for the report.
Yes, thank you for the report. Glad to hear that, every 15 minutes program is still going. I have vivid memories of that from my time as a student at TVHS, so 20 years ago now. It's an important program, and we appreciate the work on that.
Thank you.
All right, we will receive and file the police chief's report. And do we have a director report this evening?
Yes, thank you very much. The one item that we have as far as traffic goes, we wanted to remind you about the detour that's going to occur off of Nicholas Road, where traffic is going to go via Medusa and all the way up to La Serena, or whatever way that traffic will go. It is slated for probably around the end of April, and we'll see message boards highlighting that probably by April 8th. The week of the April 8th, so just wanted to keep you abreast of that. And that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, commissioner reports, starting with Commissioner Ackerman, if you have anything.
I don't have any reports. I do have one request, though, so I'm sure all of us are aware, and if we're not, about a week ago, there was a pretty bad accident involving a Sur-Ron electric bike over in the north part of the city. 2 juveniles, one was not wearing a helmet, both were ejected. Last I heard, they're both in serious condition, unsure of their status now, but I think it's definitely an eye-opening moment for all of us, considering it's on our home turf now that something happened. I see these kids riding these particular types of bikes on city streets. I don't want to say all the time, but enough. So I wanted to see if it'd be possible. I know the sheriff's office isn't there tonight, but to see if it'd be possible to add to their report the number of citations or warnings given for operating those types of bikes on public roads, as well as helmets on juveniles. I know last time we talked about it, the representative told me that they are written, but I'd like to see some numbers if we can request that they add that to their report.
Yeah, I like that suggestion, and thank you for bringing that up. Anything?
I concur with Commissioner Ackerman's suggestion.
And just as a reminder that the e-bike ordinance did go to City Council last Tuesday, and so there was obviously a lot of changes that occurred within the ordinance to change the behavior in the parks and public right-of-way. Captain Durham came up and talked about, the outreach that they have made to not only the school district, but in general, what they're going to be doing in order to try to engage the e-bike riders on a regular basis. So I think, considering the ordinance, I think we will see more interaction, but we'll make note of Commissioner Ackerman's request, and we will get some data from them to be able to bring back at a later date.
Excellent, appreciate that. Quick update from the Temecula Active Transportation Community Advisory Panel, which met earlier this month. Just wanted to highlight one item that we discussed, which was the wayfinding signage program. We got a preview of some of the designs for these signs that are going to include maps and points of interest and distances. And this is going to be piloted first on the South Loop Trail. So for anyone who doesn't know exactly where the South Loop Trail is, you will once the signs are installed. But basically it follows Wolf Creek Drive north and south. It goes past a few of the parks and the fire station and links up to the Great Oak Trail. So just wanted to thank city staff for really driving that project forward, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out. All right. If there's nothing else, we will go ahead and adjourn. The next regular meeting will be held Thursday, April 25th, 2024, right here at City Hall. We're adjourned.